back with Terry Horan, getting ready for next week against Carleton. But let's go back to the homecoming game. Pretty much, if you were going to script something, that's the way you would script it. Perfect day, great on offense, great on defense. Special teams came through. Let's talk a little bit about the defense, because they pitched the shutout. What has been the biggest difference between this year's defense, where they've stepped it up, as opposed to last year's defense?
I just think experience. You know, we've got a lot of seniors. We've got a lot of guys that played a lot of football for us. We're extremely athletic defensively too, but we've got a good chunk of our guys back that have played a lot of football games, for the Cobbers. So that's one. We've been staying relatively healthy as well, and we've got some depth there too, which we haven't had in the past. So really like how our defense is playing. So they had another 60-minute great effort. I thought, obviously Eau Claire, it was a solid effort, got better out at PLU, and then obviously to get a shutout in a college football game, that's not easy to do, and they found a way to do it.
And that's it for the fans who were at the game or maybe watching, that at the end of the game when you're taking timeouts, you're already up 35-0, and that's the reason why you were doing it, is because you wanted to protect that shutout, because it does mean a lot to those players.
Oh, absolutely. There's a black shirt code that we have. We want to shut people out, but some personnel groupings and things like that, we just didn't match up quite well, so we just didn't want to give a silly one. So we had the timeouts to burn, and we wanted to just make sure that we had the right personnel on the field.
Offensively, Cooper had another good game, but sometimes what gets overlooked are the wide receivers that are catching those passes, especially a couple of names that people won't be familiar with, like Grant Magus, a freshman. Normally you don't play a lot of freshmen, especially in skill positions. Probably maybe since back when you played, was the last time freshmen played.
Well, Christofferson's theory was the best time to play a freshman is when they're a sophomore. I played a little bit, but not much.
Okay, and you've carried that over a little bit, but now kind of in the past couple of years you're starting to see more and more freshmen that are there ready for it, especially with Grant. And then also talk a little bit about Davion Henderson, who's
correct. He's coming on the scene too. Both very talented. I mean, we got a really good receiving core, and obviously when we moved to this style of an offense, we really recruited hard, some tight ends and some receivers, and we're fortunate with Grant Magus and then his twin brother Kyle Magus, both studs out of Osakis. Kyle's playing safety for us and Grant's playing the tight end, but he's got 2 touchdowns in 3 games. And then Davion Henderson as well, a couple touchdowns in a couple games. But both of them are super athletic. They run routes well, so they add a lot to our offense, that's for sure.
Now let's look forward ahead to Carleton. Sometimes it's been a bump in the road the last couple of years for you guys. Do they do things differently that gives you a hard time?
Just that they're well coached. They really are. We've had great games with these guys. In fact, Tom Durnell, their head coach, who I'm pretty close with, we were talking about, the next 2 years we're getting out of the divisional format and we're playing 9 conference games. Well, the one conference team we're not playing is Carleton. And we actually looked at trying to play them in a non-conference game, but it just didn't work out because we've had such great games. I mean, if you look at the last 5 times we've played, they've come down to the last play of the game, and 2 of which have been in overtime. And so, very well-contested games, very evenly matched teams. And again, this year, I believe both teams are really evenly matched. We've got a lot of returners from last year's game where we were up 2 scores in the 4th quarter. They got a block punt that gave them a short field. They scored a few plays later. We marched the field down, went for it on 4th down to try to seal the victory. We came up short. They marched down the field, scored, and I believe went for 2 and walked us off. So another, big 4th quarter for them. A couple of years back, I remember them throwing a Hail Mary, put it into overtime, and we actually scored first, missed the PAT, then they scored and beat us. And then the following year, they came to our place, we beat them in overtime, and then we lost 17-14 in that championship weekend with them, and we had 7 turnovers in that game. So, been great matchups. It's going to be a warm day down there. It's the only grass field left in the league. We're excited for the opportunity. They've been great football games.
They do anything different with the personnel-wise from last year to this year? Do they graduate a lot, or do they have people coming back?
Yeah, they've got a good chunk of their guys coming back. Their quarterback is outstanding, and he's a high-efficiency type passer. He's got good weapons. Offensively, they've got a lot of guys that have played a lot of football for them too. And they're pretty much even across the board pass to run ratio. Probably a little more pass obviously than run, but defensively they're solid. They're only giving up just over about 275 yards, 280 yards a game in total offense defensively. So they've got guys that have played a lot of football. The area that I think they really excel into is within special teams. They're very well coached. And they create some problems and just some things you got to practice extra for just because of what they show on film. They're 2-1 just like us. They went out to Pomona Pitzer, West Coast fly-out type game, and ended up losing to Pomona, and then they beat Morris and they beat Hamlin. So it's gonna be a good test for us, and it's their homecoming game. So we're looking forward to it.
And then just take us through the schedule, because this is going to be the first time you travel by bus and you're going away to into MIAC. What's the schedule look for you, like you guys, starting on Friday? And
so tomorrow morning we'll practice early again. We're on the field at 5:40, and we're usually off. It's a flow and go type practice for us. We'll be done about 7:45ish. Then all of our players will head off to class, and then about 4 o'clock. Well, 3:30 locker room will open. 4 o'clock buses will arrive. We'll have 2 buses. They'll arrive. The guys will start loading the bus. And then we'll take our buses over to dining service. We'll eat in our dining service before we leave. And then we travel down to Minneapolis, and we're actually staying at one of the hotels that my daughter manages with National Hospitality. So excited to see that. Just got off the phone with her. She's gonna be there when we show up at about 8:45 to give Pops a big hug. So I'm excited to see her.
Do you go right to her if there's something wrong with
absolutely. She called me up. She goes, "Dad, how many more changes are you gonna have on your rooming list?" And I said, I really love working with my daughter on this. Yeah, absolutely. We've had a few changes just because of there's some illnesses and things going on, but we got to make a few changes, and she's just laughing. So that'll be good. And then we'll do some room checks, go through schedule, and then get up in the morning, eat some breakfast, and then travel about 30-40 minutes down the road to Northfield, and usually arrive on the campuses about 10:30. That gives us enough time to get taped and walk around and be ready to go out for a pregame.
Good luck on Saturday.
I appreciate it. Thanks.